Hi everybody, and welcome to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. In this video, we've got a post from the subreddit Relationships that comes with an ultimatum and of course an update. Then we move on to some petty revenge, and we finish with the very definition of today I effed up. So like always, if you want to navigate through the different parts of the video, you can just go ahead and use the timestamps. Now let's get started with that first story. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user SevereSecret29. My 23 female best friend's 23 female boyfriend 25 male is so jealous he wants to ruin our girls' night out. My best friend is Angie, 23 female, who I've known since high school. I started dating Angie's brother Rob, 27 male, in May of this year. Even though Angie encouraged me to get with her brother, I think we both knew our relationship would change a bit as a result of me dating him. Obviously, since I've been with Rob, I've spent the majority of my free time with him. It seems like we can't get enough of each other sometimes. I started to feel like I was being a terrible friend to her. I told Rob how I was feeling, and he suggested Angie and I needed a day together to hang out. He went and bought both of us gift certificates for a nail salon that we both like so we can get mani-pedis. Then he told me that after that, Angie and I should go out to dinner and hang out like we did before I started dating him. He said he felt bad too because sometimes it seemed like he stole his sister's best friend. So I called Angie up and told her what Rob had said, and she was really excited to do this. We eventually included two of our other girlfriends in the plans to go out for dinner, then go to a club after. Rob was cool with our plans. He and his friends are going to hang out at his house and play board games for the night. Angie's boyfriend Derek is not as enthusiastic about the whole thing. When we were at Rob's house for a Labor Day cookout, he asked Rob in front of me if he felt comfortable letting his woman go out to a club without him. Rob jokingly responded, "Who's she gonna run off with when she's got all this waiting at home for her?" Now, I know Rob said that as a joke, but I do feel that way. I think I've got such a great boyfriend and we have such a good relationship, I'd never even be tempted. Plus, I know Rob trusts me and isn't the jealous type. Derek didn't think it was funny and kept pressing Rob about him letting me go out. I broke in and said Rob isn't letting me do anything. I am a big girl and so is Angela. Now Derek is insisting that he wants to come along. Rob is really annoyed and says he's acting like a punk. I talked to Angie and she says I should talk to Rob into coming too. I don't want Rob coming, and he doesn't want to come either. He's looking forward to having his friends over so they can play board games and trash talk to each other. I even asked if he'd invite Derek and he said, "I don't want that douche over here." I've always suspected that Rob didn't really like Derek, but now I know for certain. He only puts up with him for his sister's sake. Rob is also annoyed that Angie just doesn't tell Derek she's going out, and that's that. He also said if Derek asks him about going along one more time, he's going to tell him to grow up. He feels like Derek not trusting his sister is an insult to her. I've talked to our other two friends who are planning on joining us, and neither of them wants Derek tagging along. How do I tell Angie politely that no one wants her boyfriend there? If she decides not to go, it ruins the whole reason I wanted to do this whole night in the first place. So Angie and I could spend some quality time together. Oof, Obi, I think Rob is right. Derek is a douche, but not just any kind of douche, the controlling, jealous type of douche. I think you do need to talk to Angie and just be straightforward. Tell her that this whole thing was about you wanting to hang out with her, and Derek crashing the party is just gonna make it weird and he isn't welcomed there. Hopefully she will understand. And regarding Derek, I honestly don't understand this letting my woman do this or that kind of mentality. What the F? Dude, she's an adult. She can do whatever the F she wants. And it's up to you to grow up and trust that she's not gonna do something that hurts you. But if she does, well then she sucks as a person. The way I see it, for a relationship to be strong, you have to be able to trust. And if you can't trust your partner, then why are you with them? And if you can't trust any partner, then you shouldn't be in a relationship and you should be working on your trust issues. The fact is that you just can't control everything that everybody does, and if you do try to do that, well, your relationship is destined to fail. Either that or it's gonna be one of those really drama-full relationships that just wear you out. Anyways, let me know in the comment section what you guys think or what kind of advice you would give OP. And now, let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Traeze says, you need to stop using euphemisms or insults. He isn't a punk or a douche or whatever. He is controlling. He has stated explicitly that he feels that he has some right or obligation as a male to control what his woman does. That is gross. That is outdated. And given he is willing to go so far as embarrass himself in front of all her friends, and will likely use this as an opportunity to ban her from seeing them or to isolate her, I think she is in a much worse relationship than you hope. And you just have to be honest about that. This is a girls' night out. We are worried what it says about how he views us and you as his partner if he can't handle us going out together. We do not feel comfortable having him there, but want to make it clear we want you with us alone like it should be. Banana with 3 legs says, you don't need to be polite about telling her you don't want him to go. You planned a girls' day. He is simply not invited. Their relationship is obviously riddled with issues, but for the sake of this post, just tell her that you and your friends don't want her boyfriend tagging along to your girls' day out. Quark Writes says, quote, Angie, the rest of us don't want anyone's boyfriend to join us on girls' night. I don't even want Rob there, and you know how much I love him. We just want to hang out with each other and have fun. And obviously, I'm dying to get to spend some time with you especially. That's the whole point of this girls' night. Is there any way for you to get Derek to stay home or to hang out with his friends instead? Be prepared that Derek might use this as an opportunity to try to isolate Angie from her friends. Abusers often do that, and he is throwing out some huge red flags for future abuse. Please let her know how important she is to you and keep the lines of communication open. Tell Rob to do the same. When Derek does things that are controlling and possessive like this, talk to her in private and remind her that she is trustworthy and that her boyfriend shouldn't talk about her like she's his daughter instead of his partner. Let her know that she doesn't deserve for him to treat her that way. Don't pressure her to dump him. Y'all are young enough that you might just push her away with that. Just make sure that she knows she's loved. Make sure she knows she will always have the two of you and boost her self-esteem whenever you can. Knowing that she deserves better and knowing that she has a support system will be instrumental to her leaving him. Which I hope she does, sooner rather than later. Information from OP's comments. I can't convince Rob to invite him. Rob doesn't like him and doesn't want him there. The only reason Rob even invited him to the Labor Day cookout was to please his sister. Rob also has no desire to tag along on our girls' night out, nor do I want him to. And none of our other girlfriends want their guys to come either. Rob has spoken to his sister about Derek in the past. Before he and I started dating, he told Angela that he thinks Derek tries to run her life. He said they got in an argument and ended up not talking for like a week. So I feel like the community really came through for OP with some great advice and even some quotes that she could use herself. And then OP gave us a little bit more context about this whole thing. So now that we've got as much information as possible, let's move on with the update and see how this situation resolved. Angela put her foot down and told Derek that she didn't want him coming along with us on our girls' night out. Derek gave her an ultimatum that either he came along with us or they were through. I had a talk with Angela on Saturday morning and she told me about the ultimatum and said she was tired of Derek thinking he could run her life. So she and I went and had our nails done on Saturday afternoon with the gift cards that my boyfriend Rob had bought for us. Saturday evening, Angela, me, and 3 of our other girlfriends went out to dinner together. During dinner, Derek was blowing up Angela's phone with texts. She tried to ignore them, but eventually she responded that she was still going out with us, and that was that. We all went to a club and had some drinks and danced until around midnight. Our friend Jenny was our designated driver and she dropped us off at our places. she was going to drop me at Rob's house last. We went to drop Angela off at her apartment and Derek was waiting in the parking lot. He started screaming at Angela and at us, saying that we were encouraging her to be unfaithful to him. We were all pretty scared and I wouldn't let Angie out of the car. So Jenny took me and Angie over to Rob's house. Rob had some of his friends over Saturday night for a game night. When we got there, his friend Tony was still there. Rob was really pissed when he heard how Derek had acted. He and Tony took Angela back to her place. I guess they had some words with Derek and he ended up leaving her place. Rob insisted that Angie should stay that night at his house with us. He was worried that Derek might come back. So now Angela has told Derek that he needs to leave her alone or she's going to call the police. He tried to apologize for how he acted, but Angela told him that they are through. So far, Derek has left her alone aside from saying he needs to come to her place to get some of his stuff, which she agreed to as long as Rob and her dad are there when he comes. I know Angela feels bad that her relationship didn't work out, but I think she's better off without a guy like that in her life. Ah yes, the ultimatum. The perfect measure to gauge how healthy your relationship is. Anyways, good for Angie for standing up for herself and doing what she needed to do. Get rid of him. Hopefully Derek eventually understands that his attitude was just wrong and that he needs to fix a few things. Either that or he's gonna turn into one of these resentful people that we see out there in some forums. In any case, good for Angela and super cool that you guys had fun on your girls' night out. Now, let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Petty Revenge and it's by user Can Ducks Give STDs? So, you wanna snoop in your daughter's texts? So, I'm married to a wonderful woman. She's smart, funny, and very kind. Her mother is generally very nice and tends to have a great attitude and be very enjoyable. A bit of a prude, but generally enjoyable. However, can be a bit of a major snoop. If my wife leaves her phone sitting around, she will just pick it up and start going through it. My wife has kind of laughed this off as a remnant of her mom being controlling when she was a kid. I'm not a fan of this because my wife and I will sometimes text about things that simply don't involve her mother and I don't feel are her business at all. So over Christmas, I saw my wife set her phone down on the kitchen counter and I had a brilliant idea. Her mom was still in the kitchen and I sent my wife the most sexually depraved text about all the things I was going to do to her when everyone left. Honestly, most of them are things we haven't even done, but I had to make it extra scarring. I sent this text from the bathroom, and maybe it was my imagination, but I could swear I could hear an audible gasp shortly after her phone went off. When I went out, her mother absolutely would not look me in the eye. Then, not so discreetly, asked her daughter to come talk to her in the other room. When my wife came back into the living room, I thought she had been crying. However, upon closer inspection, she was laughing. Her mother had questioned her about me sexually abusing her and if I always talked down to her like that. My wife had told her kindly that what we do is between us and us only. Probably the best gift this Christmas. Fantastic, OP. I loved every little bit of this. I'm not sure if it's actually petty revenge, but it definitely taught your mother-in-law a lesson. Good for you. Now let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Today I Effed Up, and it's by user NormalEmotion5470. Today I effed up by drugging the bartender and ruining a wedding. Yeah, so this F-up happened the summer before COVID, but I think that statute of limitations are up, so I can tell this story. My wife and I went to her colleague's wedding. I'm not a huge drinker and I didn't really know anyone, so my plan was to grab some sort of cold, refreshing beverage, find somewhere to post up, and to nurse it while I got really stoned and did some people watching, which leads me to my drugs. On the way to the wedding, I stopped at a dispensary and picked up a reusable vape pen thing. I'm a pretty traditional smoker. I go to the place and buy an eighth and smoke it in my ancient bowl over the course of the next month or two. I've never had a pen before. I was just like, I'm going to a wedding and want something that won't make me sleepy or mentally handicapped. And the young woman at the counter handed me the thing. As my wife was driving us over, I tried it out. I also don't smoke very much at any one time and have a hard time with anything like joints or bongs, etc. When I do smoke these things, they hit way too hard and I cough like crazy and hate myself. So I took a very small hit, noticed it hit really hard and thought, well, that's because you think everything hits too hard. Bada bing bada boom, I'm at the reception standing in line to grab some drinks from the bartender and notice the tip jar. Realizing I don't have any cash, I'm like, dude, do you have Venmo or something? I know, lol. And he's like, don't worry about it, man, it's no big deal. But I am a service industry vet, so I wanted to find a way to tip him because I know it's gonna be a long night and a lot of people won't tip. So I'm like, alright man, well, if my wife has some cash, I'll double back over. But in the meantime, if you party, and I show him the pen. He's like, oh, for real? Hell yeah, dude. And proceeds to take an enormous puff on this thing. Within seconds, he was doubling over and coughing uncontrollably. It was incredibly loud, and in under a minute, he was down on his hands and knees behind the bar, puking in the grass. Still, kind of no harm, no foul. Until he gets up and puts all of his weight onto a tumbler glass that was sitting on the table he used to get himself up, cutting his hand open so badly. And then something very interesting happened. Something that had never happened before. I started vomiting at the sight of blood. So naturally, this is pretty disruptive, and the groom, who just so happened to be nearby, comes over to see what's going on, and effing faints the second he sees this guy's hand, smashing his head on the bar table on the way down, his face taking the tablecloth and everything on the table down with him. Totally unmitigated disaster. Both of them had to go to the hospital, and the bride was understandably super upset and screaming at the caterers. So I decided, well, it's been a good life, and began to march over to explain to her what happened when out of her mouth comes a series of very specific slurs directed at the owner of the catering company. I didn't get a single word out of my mouth before she said, "Effing sue me," turned on her heel and told her people to just round their crap up and go. Cue major crap storm. Everyone is fighting with everyone, and almost all of the guests left. I told my wife what happened on the drive home, and she said I should call the catering company and apologize, which I did, and the owner laughed for about 30 seconds on the phone before saying, well, whatever, F that bitch. So, yeah. Well, if there was ever a post from Today I F'd Up that totally deserves that Today I F'd Up, OP, this one is right there on the top. And props for coming clean to the catering company. Good on you, man. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I certainly did reading them to you. So if you did, then go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and become a member of our Discord community that just keeps growing, and it is fantastic. And like I said in the beginning of the video, all of the relevant links are in the video description below, so be sure to check them out. And finally, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys enjoy this content, so thank you once again. And having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.